And they've been taken to the cleaners too. They think they've been doing the right thing for their, I mean, some of them are major change agents. Don't think it's just in the schools. You'll have the head of the Rotary could be a major change agent to collectivize your community, right, through sustainable development, the schools, regionalism, all of this is communism. Regionalism is communism. Good quote in my book from a leading communist who wrote in the Communist Daily World.
What exactly is regionalism?
Well, Stalin, Lenin called for it. First of all, well, regionalism is this council form of government, which is a Soviet form of government. It means you have unelected councils. You drop the borders between the town, the county, and the state. You end up with an amorphous group, a region which doesn't represent you any longer because it's bigger. You know, it's moved out. I was the as a school board member, I was appointed to be on the vocational ed council for 4 different school districts. And I saw it there. That's probably easier for people to understand. We were a wealthy town, Camden, Maine, and we ended up paying the lion's share for all the other towns. Redistribution of wealth. Redistribution of wealth. And it's getting rid of spreading, bringing in from the countryside to the, this is like consolidation with the schools, bringing all the little schools into the major central school. That's what you call consolidation. Shut down all the little schools out there where the children are closer to their parents. The parents can go to school board meetings, etc. It's making government very distant from the voter or the citizen, very distant. He no longer really has much of a say because it's been watered down through the big council form of government where they bring everybody into the council system and the other the little boards just go by the way. It's going on all over the country now. But anyway, this communist writer in my book, he said, the United States is moving too slowly towards regionalism. It worked so well in the Soviet Union. Oh, that's a good quote. And I mean, there's so much on regionalism, wonderful work that's been done by Americans through the years. Arch Roberts did magnificent work, Colonel Arch Roberts, many, many others. On my new website, AmericanDeception.com. There's so much on there in regard to regionalism. Don Bell, he did a whole series of fantastic newsletters. Don Bell was a journalist in World War II who was in a Japanese concentration camp, came back to the United States, wrote newsletters up until 10 years ago. Most magnificent work you've ever seen. Well, on my website you have his series of fabulous articles on regionalism. And Maureen Heaton's The Impossible Dream, incredible book, is also on that website. But anyway, that's exactly what we were looking at in our community, where the leadership of these groups, many of them were deliberate, and many of them were definitely change agents, others perhaps not, maybe not Garden Club Historical Society, but they were being used. I was, as a change agent, meant to go to them and say, well, you know, we have a bit of a problem with a couple of pregnancies in the high school, so we need a sex education program. Well, probably, in most cases, they would target the schools that, or the towns that had the least problems, because they want to create the problem. I'll never forget in Michigan, some parents calling me and saying, we can't understand, why on earth are they putting in the comprehensive health education in this community, because we don't have any pregnancies, we don't even have problems with the kids drinking or drugs or anything. Why are they putting it here? And I said, because you don't. The goal is to get you to have the problem. And when they can crash the morals and values and they can crash the academics, then they can impose the totalitarian system, which is George Bush is putting in right now. Clinton before, Bush Sr. before, Reagan before, Carter before, whoever, Nixon, they've all been in it. I mean, all the way pre-World War I, we have had, every single president has had the same agenda. Might as well make that clear. And I mean, sometimes the end of an interview comes and the guy will say, well, do you have anything you want to say? And I say, yeah, there's only one thing you have to remember when you go home, and this is easy. There isn't any difference between the Republican and the Democratic parties at the top. And this has been planned ever since the late 1800s. Carroll Quigley said this in Tragedy and Hope. Carroll Quigley was Clinton's mentor at Georgetown University, and he wrote this great book, Tragedy and Hope. He was an insider inside the economic, financial elite, right? CF, Council on Foreign Relations, all that. And he didn't have a problem with the idea of world government, which is their goal, but he did say it shouldn't be kept secret from the people. And he was the one who talked about, in the late 1800s, when the financial elite got together, and they said, if we're going to have this international system, we're going to have to control both parties at the top, so that when the voters go to the polls, they'll pull a thing, and they won't know that it doesn't make any difference who they vote for.